What they found inside Noah's Ark in Turkey will haunt humanity forever. A storm raged in the Turkish mountains, unleashing relentless sheets of rain that exposed forgotten secrets long buried beneath layers of history. And what lay unveiled in the heart of that tempest was a discovery that would shake the foundations of faith and reason alike. It was said to be remnants of Noah's Ark itself, vast, decaying wood etched with strange symbols and whispered tales that bound the fates of humanity. But that was just the beginning. As explorers stumbled upon the massive structure, their hearts raced, not just from thrill, but from an overpowering sense of dread. The air itself seemed to hum, prickling their skin, sending shivers down their spines. Time stood still as they approached the Ark, the ground beneath them soaked in an otherworldly silence. Among the debris, glistening under the weak rays of the sun, was a collection of objects, gleaming stones that pulsed faintly as if alive, bone fragments of creatures that shouldn't exist, and scrolls written in a tongue lost to time. The whispers began almost immediately, echoing through the chilling air. Some claimed that explorers had seen shadows flickering across the Ark's weathered hull, specters of the past watching, waiting. The weight of the lost seemed to press against their chests, each breath a struggle. "What haunts this place?" a voice from the back quivered, gripping a companion's arm. Others murmured in agreement, their eyes wide with an unshakable mixture of wonder and fear. "What if these relics are our past? Our future?" Someone mused aloud, their voice trembling. There was no denying the gravity of their find. It felt as though they were peering into an abyss that held the secrets of creation or destruction. And just when the thrill of discovery began to settle, a loud crack echoed through the forest, splintering their thoughts like a whip. They turned, breathless, heartbeats quickening. The storm had intensified, but now it felt like a warning. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up." Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The ground trembled, a low rumble that wasn't just from the storm. It felt as if the Ark had awakened, stirring memories and dreams long locked away. And then they saw it, a shadow more significant than the rest, looming at the entrance, beckoning them to step inside. "Do we really want to know what's waiting for us?" a voice quaked. For a moment, they hesitated, hearts racing. What horrors and wonders could lie inside, waiting just for them? The air around them thickened with an unnerving energy, and each of them felt it, a primal pull they couldn't resist. The door creaked open as if it had been waiting for centuries. An unsettling chill swept through their ranks. What awaited them beyond the threshold? What dark secrets harbored within? Only one thing was certain: whatever they found inside the Ark would challenge everything they thought they knew about the world and themselves. And from that moment, they knew nothing would ever be the same again. As they crossed the threshold into the Ark, a wave of frigid air rushed over them, leaving a lingering sense of despair. The rotting timber creaked underfoot, as if the entire structure was groaning in response to their trespass. Shadows danced along the walls, the pale light filtering through cracks revealing an endless expanse of darkness ahead. "I don't like this," someone whispered, their voice trembling. The group fell silent, straining to hear the soft echoes that bounced off the ancient wood, a reminder that they were not alone. The deeper they ventured, the thicker the atmosphere became. It was humid, a stifling weight pressing down on their shoulders. Strange markings adorned the walls, twisting symbols that seemed to shimmer when examined closely. "What do these mean?" questioned Maya, one of the more daring members of the team. She stepped closer, her fingers skimming over the inscriptions, and suddenly, a resonant tone reverberated in the air. "Stop! Don't touch them," shouted Brian, yanking her back just as a surge of energy snaked through the floor, and the air crackled. A cacophony of whispers filled their ears, an ancient language binding them in understanding and dread. The walls seemed to thrum with life, pulsing as if echoing the heartbeat of something long forgotten. "Did you hear that?" A voice quivered from the back. "It sounds like someone else speaking." Fear gripped them, as their nerves frayed. They had come seeking answers yet were seemingly being swallowed whole by the ARK's mystery. Then they arrived at an expansive chamber. Stalactites dripped ominously from the ceiling, and the light from their flashlights revealed the grotesque shapes of long-lost creatures preserved in mud and decay. Among them lay a pedestal, draped with a tattered cloth that exuded an unsettling aura. As they drew closer, the whispers grew louder, urging them to uncover what lay hidden. Tyler, driven by curiosity, reached for the cloth. "Wait!" Maya exclaimed, her heart racing. But it was too late. As the cloth slipped from the pedestal, a blinding light erupted, casting dark shadows that twisted impossibly across the chamber. From the light emerged figures faint, yet palpable. Ghostly visions of beasts and people from an era long past, their faces twisted in agony and despair. They pointed accusingly at the explorers, their mouths moving in silent screams. Panic surged through the group. "We need to leave," Brian shouted, desperately scanning the chamber. "Now!" But as they turned, the entrance flickered. The dark expanse they had come through seemed to shift and contort, now a labyrinth of shadows. The echoes of whispers turned to anguished wails, wrapping around them like a noose thickening with each passing second. What did they awaken? What had they unearthed by revealing the truth behind that lost cloth? As they stumbled back in disbelief, the very air seemed to throb, pressing them deeper into despair, into the ARK's unyielding grasp. A thunderous crack split the silence, and the ARK shuddered around them. Sudden realization washed over them. They were caught in the greed of knowledge, trapped in a vessel that had seen the end of worlds. No longer curious explorers, they were now unwilling players in a much darker game. What had lurked in the ARK's belly for centuries? What choice would they face next as darkness pressed upon them? They knew one thing for certain: the history they sought to uncover would take more than just their understanding, it would demand their very souls. As the shadows began to close in, one final whisper echoed in the depths of the chamber: "To know is to suffer." And just before they lost all control, a distant, haunting voice cracked through the chaos. "Are you here to save us or to become one of us?" Would they find a way to escape before it was too late? Or would they forever be entwined with the ARK's cursed fate? The chamber pulsed with fear as the shadows crept closer, wrapping around them like a suffocating fog. Each breath felt heavier, a weight pressing down as if the ARK itself intended to consume them whole. Maya's heart raced. "What do we do?" She gasped, her voice barely a whisper beneath the overwhelming anguish that seemed to vibrate through the walls. Brian shot a panicked glance toward the spectral figures, their hollow eyes boring into the group. "We have to find a way out. This isn't an exploration anymore, it's a trap." The urgency in his voice broke through the stifling atmosphere. Tyler, who had frozen in his place, finally shook himself into action. "This way!" he shouted, motioning toward a dim corridor that branched off from the chamber. The scattered glow of their flashlight seemed paltry against the encroaching darkness, illuminating only fleeting glimpses of their surroundings. The echoes of agonized wails pursued them as they sprinted, their minds racing with horror and desperation. Miles of structure lay ahead, an endless maze drawn deeper into the cursed history of the Arkansas. "Why did we have to come here?" cried Maya, tears of fear blurring her vision. "Maybe we weren't meant to," Tyler replied, his throat tight with dread. Maybe. Suddenly, the corridor twisted, plunging them into a darkness so profound it swallowed their screams. They stumbled, disoriented, crashing into one another as fear overtook them. "Stick together," Brian urged, his command muffled by the labyrinth's unnatural whispering. Just as they regained their footing, an earth-shattering crash echoed behind them. The entrance they had fled from collapsed, sealing them in. Panic surged anew, a tidal wave of despair and hopelessness swelling within. The path before them branched again, but a shivering uncertainty pulled at their resolve. "Do we split up or stay close?" Maya asked, her eyes wide with terror. "Staying close is our only option," Brian shouted, clenching his fists as sweat dripped down his brow. They chose the path to the left, a passage lined with grotesque carvings, menacing figures seemingly warning them to turn back. The very air sparked with a curse long imposed by those who had once found refuge here. Heartbeats drummed in their ears, the whispers now transformed into a cacophony, drowning their thoughts. "It's like they're everywhere," Maya whimpered, her body quaking with fear. From the depths of that unsettling darkness emerged a flicker of light, slender and beguiling, like a candle struggling against wind. "There!" Tyler shouted. They all lunged towards it, driven by an instinctual hope for salvation, for any means of escape from torment, but as they approached, a shadow tore itself from the very walls, morphing into a figure, another spirit, its features suffused with rage and sorrow. "You dare to disturb our rest?" it hissed, the voice crackling like dry leaves underfoot. The group halted, their limbs frozen not from fear, but sheer disbelief. The spirit's eyes were pools of darkness, shadows swirling with long-forgotten anguish. The candle flickered, illuminating the ghostly figure's twisted face. "You are not the first to stumble here, nor will you be the last." "Wait. We didn't mean any harm." Maya stammered, desperately trying to reason with a presence that seemed so much larger than them, a force built from centuries of pain and restraint. "Your ignorance will lead to your ruin," the spirit ominously whispered, and just like that the light dimmed, casting the group back into enveloping darkness. With courage faltering, Maya took Brian's wrist. "We have to keep moving." "Whatever that was or whoever," Brian interjected, visions of their confrontation sending chills up his spine. They pressed onward, the distant wraiths following them, their whispers a haunting mantra: "To know is to suffer is to belong." The walls began to shake, rumbling beneath their feet as the very structure sensed their presence, its ancient pulse quickening in a furious response to the intruders. What lay beyond this path? Would they find an escape, or had they merely fallen deeper into the ARK's clutches? Shadows clawed at their heels, and the cavern resonated with an unsettling truth: knowledge had awakened something that thirsted for company. As they turned a corner, the air grew thick, the shadows pulsated, and a foreboding realization settled in. "We're running out of time," Maya whispered, though no sound truly echoed her thought. But with a roar that shook the stones to their very core, something within the ARK awakened. The rumble grew louder, drowning out their desperate breaths. The ARK had a heartbeat, and now it was angry. Moments later, a sliding door opened before them, revealing an astonishing sight: a hidden chamber filled with artifacts and relics, each one radiating a malevolent energy. Would they dare step through? What dangers or revelations awaited within? Every heartbeat felt like a countdown as they stood frozen at the threshold of the hidden chamber. A sickly sweet scent, a mix of old earth and stale air, filled their lungs, wrapping around them like a shroud. Maya squinted, trying to make sense of the chaotic shadows that seemed to swirl within the chamber, a thousand lost voices echoing through the dim light. "Do we really want to go in there?" Brian's voice wavered. He shifted uneasily, the weight of decision heavy on his shoulders. Tyler took a step closer to the door, curiosity battling with instinct. "What if there's something we can use to get out? Or something we shouldn't disturb," Maya muttered, glancing back at the corridor they had just escaped. The spirit's words rattled through her mind like ghosts rattling chains. With a deep breath, Tyler led the way, crossing the threshold into the eerie chamber. As Brian and Maya followed, the doors slammed shut behind them, sealing them in with a thunderous finality. The air thickened around them, every flicker of their flashlights revealing things best left unseen: old bones, rusting metal, and tarnished relics strewn about, like a graveyard of the forgotten. "Look at these!" Tyler exclaimed, shining his flashlight on an ornate chest, intricately carved with images of beings fighting and feasting. "Do you think these belong to Moses? Noah?" Maya interrupted, her heart hammering wildly. She couldn't shake the feeling that this place was more than just a storage vault of ancient things. It was a tomb, crafted by hands long dead, hands that spoke in whispers now crawling along her spine. Suddenly, a faint glow emanated from a pedestal at the room's center. Curiosity pulled them closer, and there, resting upon it like a crown was a skull, shimmering slightly with a light of its own. It seemed impossibly alive, its empty socket sparkling with a malevolence that made Maya's breath hitch. "Is that?" Brian began, but Tyler reached out before he could finish, instinct propelling his hand forward. "No!" Maya shouted, adrenaline coursing through her veins. But it was too late. Tyler's fingers brushed against the skull, and an electric jolt surged through the air like a storm about to break. The moment his skin connected, everything shifted. The air crackled, shadows collided and twisted wildly. The entire chamber trembled and groaned under an unseen weight. "Get back!" Maya yelled, but the command got lost in a sudden torrent of wind that whipped through the chamber, knocking them off their feet. The walls vibrated, and the cacophony of whispers crescendoed to a deafening roar. It was as if the ancient spirits who had remained in silence for centuries were awakened, furious at the trespassers. Maya grasped Brian's arm, panic curling deep within her gut. "We need to leave. Now." But the chamber had transformed, growing more chaotic. The relics that once lay dormant began to pulse, swirling with energy. They rose like phantoms, twisting into forms that seemed to reach out for their trespassers. "What do we do?" Brian shouted, his voice barely audible over the chaos. "We can't stay here. Fight or flight." But it was hard to think amidst the spiraling chaos. Panic surged, paralyzing them as fragments of the past came alive, a vision of destruction, a tide of suffering that pulsed with ancient fury. Then, through the maelstrom, Maya caught a glimpse of a doorway in the far wall, bathed in a ghostly glow, different from the symbols and spirits swirling around them. "Over there!" she cried, pointing. "We can escape." With a shared glance of determination, they surged toward it. But the relics twisted, blocking their path, demanding their souls, their stories. Each step felt like slow motion as they fought against the tide, hands grasping for something, anything, to hold on to. As they neared, the doorway flickered like a mirage, teasing them with the promise of freedom. But what awaited them beyond the threshold? Would they discover enlightenment or plunge into even darker depths? Just as fingers brushed that glowing edge, a spine-chilling voice echoed, "Only those who know the truth can pass." Maya's heart fell. What truth? In that moment, as shadows closed in, they realized here, at the end of escape, they stood at the brink of something far more dangerous than they'd ever imagined. What revelation awaited them on the other side of the door, and would they survive to reveal it? The moment Maya touched the glowing edge of the doorway, a seismic shift reverberated within the chamber. It felt alive, as though the ancient stones themselves were pulsating with the heartbeat of something unfathomable. The whispers intensified, a crushing wall of sound crashing over them, their meanings twisted and obscured. "Truth?" Maya whispered, disbelief flooding her heart. The air around them thickened, becoming almost gelatinous, as if it conspired to keep them tethered to a fate unknown. "Get it together!" Tyler shouted, regaining his feet. "We don't have time. We have to move." He shoved past a swirling shadow that reached for him, more desperate than menacing. "Don't let them touch you." Maya screamed, but her words fell into the void, swallowed by the escalating chaos. Her body felt heavy, weighed down by fear and uncertainty as she raced toward the doorway. Brian was beside her, his face pale like a specter, the weight of disbelief pressing down on them. "Do you think we know the truth?" he asked, breathless, his eyes darting to the relics swirling around, angry and powerful. "I don't know. But we can't find out here." Maya shouted, glancing back at Tyler, who was holding the doorframe, straining against the force pulling him into the storm of shadows. Suddenly, the skull-esque glow intensified, shooting beams of blinding light across their faces, revealing faces within the shadows. Ghostly figures twisted in the air, their expressions haunting, a tapestry of pain and rage spanning centuries. "What are they?" Tyler gasped, fear gripping his throat as the door quivered at his back. "Memories. Ours and theirs," Maya murmured. "But we can't be part of their narrative anymore." With renewed resolve, she threw herself into the light, driving through the haze, reaching for the doorway as if it were a lifeline. Brian followed, heart racing, understanding that escape was their only chance to break free from the past. Just as Maya stepped through, a cold hand clasped her ankle. It was strong, relentless. Panic surged through her as she fell back, about to be dragged into the restless abyss. "Help!" she screamed, her voice raw. Without hesitation, Tyler lunged forward, grabbing her arm, pulling with every ounce of strength he had. Brian reached out too, their fingers intertwining in a desperate grip. The shadows screamed around them, crying out for retribution as if their very existence hinged on this battle for freedom. "Say something!" Tyler shouted, desperation flooding his voice. "Anything." "What do I say?" Maya cried. "Anything. A truth. Something real." Through sheer instinct, the words tumbled out of her mouth. "We are not here to claim your past. We're here for our future." With those words, the shadows writhed, the grip on her ankle loosening, surprised by the defiance, recoiling as if stabbed. Maya felt the weight lift as she threw herself fully into the light, leaving the tendrils of darkness behind. They stumbled forward, collapsing onto solid ground as the chamber fell silent. They were on the other side, breathless and trembling, gazing back at the chaos they had escaped. The door shimmered, flickering like a candle in the wind before shutting with a heavy thud, sealing the secrets within. "What now?" Brian breathed, his voice shaking as he surveyed the dim new realm around them. Except they weren't free yet. Before them stood a vast, ancient landscape, filled with towering structures that should have long crumbled into dust. But their chilling beauty was marred by the eyes watching them from the shadows, waiting. More truths hung in the air, and a sense of dread uncoiled in Maya's gut. "Did we really escape?" Tyler whispered. Maya clenched her fists. "Or just entered another nightmare?" And as the echoes of their escape faded, they realized the true test had only just begun. What awaited them in this new realm? Who else was watching? The questions loomed heavily as an ominous presence surrounded them, darkness unfurling like smoke in the corners. What hidden truths lay ahead, and would they be prepared to face them? The land stretched out before them, vast and ominous, a twisted mockery of what had once been a thriving civilization. The air was thick with an unsettling silence that bounced like echoes off crumbling stone walls. Maya felt a shiver slide down her spine. The towering structures loomed like sentinels, half hidden in shadows, their surfaces etched with strange markings that seemed to writhe under her gaze. "We should keep moving," Brian urged, his voice a shaky whisper. The shadows danced just out of reach, but their presence was suffocating. "Where to?" Tyler asked, scanning the horizon. "What's our plan?" Maya's heart raced. She thought about the doorway they'd just escaped. What had they left behind? What truths still lay tangled within that darkness? There. She pointed. An archway stood a little distance away, its entrance yawning like the mouth of a cave, inviting yet foreboding. As they crept forward, the ground beneath them crunched, each step loud in the oppressive quiet. The air changed, thickening with a kind of sorrow that pressed against their chests. Shadows shifted, more animated now, flickering like candle flames. Maya could feel eyes boring into her from the inky darkness that seemed to swirl just beyond their vision. "Do you hear that?" Brian's eyes widened as he halted. A low whine filled the air, growing in intensity. It was a lament, haunting and sorrowful. Maya's breath hitched. Was it the shadows? Memories? Or was there something more? Suddenly, an apparition emerged from the shadows. It glided towards them, transparent and shrouded in mist. An expression of deep anguish twisted its features. Maya froze in place, a scream lodged in her throat. She could feel the weight of time pressing against her like a wave about to crash. "It's trying to tell us something," Tyler said, taking a step forward, his curiosity overwhelming his fear. "Don't!" Maya shouted, grabbing his arm. We don't know what it wants. Ignoring her, Tyler moved closer. What do you want? He asked, his voice steady. The figure shimmered, and then suddenly, the air around them pulsated with violent energy. The lament crescendoed into a cacophony of screams, twisting into outbursts of agony and despair. Tyler, back away. Maya cried, desperately pulling him. He hesitated, but suddenly the figure lunging towards him. Like a fist of ice gripping her heart, Maya felt terror rip through her. What if this was a warning? What if they were about to unleash something terrible? Let him go. She shouted, panic bubbling over. With a reckless decision, she hurled herself between Tyler and the flickering figure. This time, she felt the shadows wrap around her ankles, threatening to pull her down into the depths of their despair. But she faced the entity head-on, her heart racing. We are not your enemies. We come in peace. Maya yelled, her voice shaking. Please, let us understand. The shadows around her shivered, and for a moment, time seemed to freeze. The wails transformed into whispers, words that reached inside her mind. Memories flooded back, forgotten moments stitched with pain, regret, and loss. I'm sorry. Maya cried, tears burning her cheeks. I didn't know. I understand now. The figure hesitated, as if taken aback. Hesitant hope flickered in her chest. Had she broken through some barrier? She instinctively knew they had to bridge the gap between worlds, to acknowledge the pain that had bound them together, but just as quickly, the shadows surged, a dark tide that threatened to engulf them entirely. Maya! Tyler shouted, his voice cutting through the growing tempest. Run! She screamed, but her feet felt stuck. The shadows loomed closer, angry and unyielding. And then, without warning, the world tilted. They found themselves swept into a vortex of color and sound, the echoes of the past swirling around them. The ancient lamentations morphed into a roar, threatening to tear them apart. What had they unraveled? It felt like a desperate pull, like a tether to an unseen fate. Maya's vision blurred, and before she could grasp what was happening, everything went dark. In those fleeting moments of blackness, a single word pierced through: truth. What had she unleashed? And when the darkness faded, would they be ready to face it? Maya gasped as the darkness lifted around them, revealing a vast landscape painted in shades of gray and muted gold. They were no longer in that oppressive archway. Instead, a desolate wasteland stretched before them, under a brittle sky that seemed to pulse in rhythm with their rapid breaths. A nauseating light flickered dangerously, casting bizarre shadows that danced along the ground, twisting shapes that instinctively made her recoil. What just happened? Brian stammered, his voice trembling as he squinted at the horizon. Maya looked at her friends, fear etched across their faces. Tyler appeared dazed, his eyes darting around, searching for an explanation. I think, she hesitated, we've stepped into a memory, or maybe, a nightmare. As the words left her mouth, a chilling wind swept through the landscape, carrying whispers that curled around them like serpents. The voices were eerily familiar, each one echoing with the weight of grief. Help us, it repeated, weaving through the air, binding them in place. It's coming from there, Tyler whispered, pointing toward a distant ruin that jutted from the ground like a broken tooth, half submerged in a pool of shadow. Are you sure it's safe? Brian's voice cracked, and for a moment, Maya thought she could see his resolve breaking, but the call was irresistible. It was almost a pull, an aching need, a beckoning of the lost and forgotten. We can't turn back now, Maya insisted, forcing strength into her wavering tone. They need our help. We need to understand what this place wants from us. They trudged onward, the air thickening with every step. Each crunch of broken shards beneath them seemed to echo with long-buried cries. As they approached the ruin, the building's faded facade bore the mark of time. Patterns wriggled like smoke on the stone walls, and Maya could feel them tugging at her memory, as though she had been here before, in some forgotten dream. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows, half hidden and trembling. It was a woman, her eyes wide with terror, her expression a matting of hope and despair. "You must go back," she shouted, her voice strained. "You don't belong here. You mustn't disturb what lies buried." "Why?" Tyler stepped forward, voice steadying. "Who are you? What they found, it will haunt humanity forever." The woman's voice wavered, and tears streamed down her cheeks. "The truth is a curse. You cannot comprehend what lies ahead. Is it too late?" Maya managed to whisper, her heart pounding. The woman's gaze hardened as she took a step back, fear morphing into resolve. "The truth has already been awakened. Shadows will come for you, for the unwitnessed secrets you've called forth." With a flick of her hand, she pointed at the ruin. "Inside lies the answer. But be warned, the truth may destroy you." Before Maya could react, the ground trembled violently. Cracks snaked through the earth, threatening to swallow them whole. She exchanged frantic glances with her friends as the land shrieked and groaned. The woman faded into the ether, her voice echoing, "Run." Instinct kicked in. They sprinted toward the entrance, but the weight of inevitability hung heavy. Shadows twisted around them, consuming the light, clawing at their backs. "Faster!" Maya shouted, adrenaline pushing her forward. As they broke through the threshold, the insides of the ruin loomed dark and foreboding, illuminated only by a sliver of light breaking through a shattered ceiling. The room smelled of ancient soot and decay, a reminder of forgotten lives. Her heart raced, but she knew they had no choice. They had to uncover the truth. Deep below in the bowels of the ruin, something stirred. The walls pulsated, breathing ancient secrets, a vivid history that whispered unspeakable tales of loss, pain, and unsolved mysteries. "What is that?" Brian's voice trembled as they caught sight of a hidden passageway, dark and winding. Maya locked eyes with Tyler. "Are we brave enough to go deeper? What if the truth is worse than we imagined?" Just then, a deep rumble echoed from within, shaking the very ground. Beneath them, the world felt unstable as a beam of light broke through the shadows, revealing a door that seemed to pulse with energy. As they stood on the edge of the unknown, the tension crackled like lightning in the air, leaving them with one chilling truth: what awaited them inside could change everything. Together, they took a breath and stepped forward, knowing that whatever lay beyond would test every fiber of their being. What were they about to unleash, and what horrifying truths might await? The door creaked open, a sound that felt like a shriek in the stillness. Maya led the way into a narrow corridor, its walls slick with moisture, the darkness pressing against them like an unwelcome embrace. She could feel her heart pounding in her ears as tendrils of shadow seemed to reach for them. "Keep close," Maya whispered, glancing back at Tyler and Brian. Brian's face was pale, and even Tyler's bravado seemed to waver as they pressed on deeper into the recesses of the ruin. The unknown crowded around them, heavy and invasive, each step echoing with the weight of centuries. Suddenly, they halted. Before them lay a large chamber filled with an array of artifacts: broken pottery, rusted metal, and brittle parchment. Flickering lights darted among the debris, shaping fractured images of things they couldn't quite comprehend. Maya felt a wave of dizziness wash over her, as though the room was alive, its history unfolding layer by layer, pressing against her mind. "What is all this?" Brian murmured, eyes wide with wonder and fear. Tyler took a step closer, reaching out to touch a large, flat stone tablet that lay half buried beneath dust. Symbols and markings danced across its surface like a living script, and the moment his fingers grazed it, a jolt of energy rippled through the air. Maya gasped, feeling a violent rush as shadows from their surroundings flickered and rushed toward the tablet. Its ancient. Tyler's voice trembled, the reality of their situation crashing in on them. "No! Leave it!" Maya shouted, fear clawing up her throat as she pulled him back. But the pull of the darkness was stronger than the light of reason. The ground shook again, and this time it felt personal, angry, as if the ruin itself was protesting their presence. The whispers returned, louder and more frantic now. "Help us! Help us!" It felt like a warning, urging them to escape before they uncovered something they weren't prepared to face. "Look!" Brian yelled, his voice cracking, pointing to the far end of the chamber. A shadow shifted, coalescing into a darker shape, something human, or perhaps not human, clawing at the ground, as if trying to escape an unseen force. The figure looked toward them, its eyes glittering like cold stars, tormented and filled with an ancient sorrow. Twisting with terror, Maya stumbled backward, nearly falling. What is that?" she gasped. "I don't know." Tyler replied, his eyes locked on the figure. "What does it want?" As if in response, the figure surged forward, fingers outstretched, a silent plea that echoed within the walls. In that moment, Maya felt the darkness seep into her bones, paralyzing her with despair. "We have to leave. Now," she urged, but each word felt like it was being swallowed by the gaping maw of the ruin. But before any of them could move, the chamber erupted with an explosion of light. The stone tablet flared with energy, sending blinding rays radiating outward. The shadows retreated, clawing at the walls, desperate for control. "Maya!" Brian shouted, terror in his voice as he grabbed her arm. "What do we do?" Just then, a memory surged in Maya's mind, a fleeting image of their childhood, a game played in a backyard, laughter ringing in the air, a promise of safety. A life untouched by darkness. It felt so distant, and yet she clung to it. "We need to harness it," she yelled. "Whatever's happening, we have to confront it." The echo of their decision hung in the air, heavy and charged. As the light expanded, revealing more of the chamber, a mural of events long past began to materialize on the walls, depictions of sacrifice, loss, and an ancient power unleashed. "Don't look away," Maya cried, steeling herself. Even as the veil of darkness threatened to encase them again, she felt them standing together, ready at last to confront the horror hidden within the truth. But just as they braced for what might come next, the unearthly figure lunged forward, and the room trembled ominously, groaning against the sudden surge of chaos. "Will you join them?" it whispered, voice echoing with promises and threats. As the shadows writhed, Maya knew they were teetering on the brink of something unimaginable, daring to cross a threshold from which there might be no return. What lay on the other side of this revelation? Would they find salvation or destruction? Light enveloped them, fierce and blinding. Maya squeezed her eyes shut, feeling the warmth against her skin, contrasting with the icy fingers of dread that clutched at her heart. The chamber vibrated with an energy that felt alive, tearing apart the shadows and drowning out the whispers urging them to flee. "Maya!" Tyler's voice cut through the chaos. "What is happening?" She willed herself to focus. The glowing tablet was the source, pulsing with a rhythmic hum that resonated within her bones. "I don't know, but we have to stand together," she shouted, forcing her eyes open. She caught a glimpse of the mural creeping behind the figure, an image of a great flood sweeping away all it touched. "We have to be brave." With a deep breath, Maya stepped closer. The figure halted, a flicker of recognition sparking in its hollow gaze. Its outstretched fingers trembled, frozen in a silent scream. "What do you want?" she demanded, her voice steady despite the tremors of fear that shook her body. It took a step forward, swirling shadows cascading around it. The chamber echoed another mournful whisper, years lost, forgotten. The wind howled, and the walls shuddered as if they themselves were alive, echoing the pain trapped within the figure's yearning. Suddenly, Brian erupted beside her, eyes wild. "We can't help it. Whatever it is, it needs to let us go." His hands balled into fists, and desperation painted his features. "It's just a trick, a way to drag us down with it." "Stop!" Maya hissed, clenching Brian's arm. "This thing has been trapped here. We can't leave it like this." Tyler, caught between them, glanced at both their faces. "But what if we free it, only to unleash more darkness?" He was torn, caught in the crossfire of fear. The figure flinched, a mirrored sorrow crossing its face as it spoke again, its voice a trembling echo. "You understand your hearts." The shadows around it grew agitated, swirling in protest. "Break the chains. Unbound the past. As the words hung in the air, Maya's heart raced. Did it mean the tablet? A connection formed, a sense of shared pain. She stepped forward again, her pulse racing. We can't be afraid of what's behind us, we have to face it. Maya reached towards the tablet, letting her fingers brush against the etched markings. The moment she made contact, the ground quaked violently, shaking them to the core. Brian stumbled, gripping the edge of an ancient pot for support, while Tyler held on to Maya, eyes wide with panic. What are you doing? Brian yelled. You'll unleash whatever curse is bound here. But the instant she touched the stone, energy surged through her, a powerful wave that unfurled memories from the shadows, as if the ruin was revealing its secret history, a hint of voices long forgotten echoing in her mind. Visions of sacrifice played out, a people desperate to keep their world alive. With every heartbeat, the energy pulsed stronger, and the shadows twisted toward the light like moths drawn to flame, their screams sharper, filled with urgency. Release us, help us. Maya's heart ached. They were more than shadows. Once, they had lives, families, dreams. This wasn't just about the ruins, it was about their souls trapped between dimensions, lingering just out of reach. Fight with us. The figure pleaded, its voice now strong yet frail, a sound that seemed to bring the very walls to life. Bring them forth, reclaim the truth. Maya glanced at Tyler and Brian, her heartbeat synchronized with their fear. Could they truly confront this darkness together? She took a step back, eyes breaking from the tablet to the spectral figure, determination igniting within her. Then we fight. She shouted with a fierce resolve, ready to unseal the past, but just as Maya was about to make her choice, the ground shook with an earth-shattering force. A shockwave erupted, shattering the remnants of the chamber, sent exploding debris flying like shrapnel. The walls cracked, buckling as ancient screams merged with the chaos, a final battle igniting around them. In the disarray, an object fell from the table, clattering against the floor, something metallic, something vital. All at once, shadows rushed toward it with a singular purpose, leaving Maya gasping as the figure of darkness dissolved into the haze. What was that? Brian gasped, and for one frantic moment, fear gripped Maya worse than before. Only one way to find out, Tyler muttered, eyes fixed on the object that now gleamed in the scattered light. It drew them in, its secret taunting them, a promise and a threat entwined in a single heartbeat. What was left behind? And was it the answer they needed or a further descent into madness? Maya steeled herself, holding her breath as she stepped cautiously forward, ready to discover what lay in store, but the grip of uncertainty tightened once more, choking her resolve. What awaited them beyond this moment? Would they break free or sink deeper into the abyss? The chaos of the collapsing chamber swirled around them, shadows clawing at their backs as Maya reached for the metallic object. She grasped it in her trembling hands, her heart racing as it pulsed with a faint warmth, almost alive. The air grew electric, filled with silent tension, as the whispers began to echo again, intertwining with the cries of the shadows. Is this it? Brian breathed, awestruck, as he leaned in closer. Is this what we need? Only one way to find out. Maya's voice trembled, determination rising through the fear clawing at her chest. If this is the truth we came for, then we need to use it. The object was shaped like an ancient key, its engraving swirling like the script on the tablet. Every line felt like it held a story waiting to be told, a promise of liberation or a harbinger of doom. With the ground still shaking violently beneath them, Maya felt the undeniable weight of the decision hanging in the air. Do we know what it'll unlock? Tyler asked, glancing at the crumbling chamber around them. What if it opens something worse? Maya swallowed hard, feeling the shadows surge closer, tantalizingly ripe with despair and yearning. We need to find out. We're the only ones who can break this cycle of suffering. With fire igniting within her gut, she faced the shadowy vortex, the endless sorrow drifting like smoke around her. If we want to escape this nightmare, we must confront it. We must break the chains binding them. As she raised the key towards the luminous tablet, the shadows wove tighter, pressurized by an invisible force. Their cries echoed louder, some pleading, others menacing. "Do it!" Brian shouted, a flicker of hope in his eyes mingled with disbelief. Maya plunged the key into the pulsating engravings of the tablet. The moment it made contact, a blinding light erupted. Waves of energy cascaded through the air, washing over them like a cleansing rain. Shadows fought against the brilliance, shrieking, thrashing as if they were being undone. "No! You must not!" A booming voice called from the depth of the chaos. The energy intensified, each pulse drawing the darkness away from them, unraveling the very fabric of despair that had held it captive for centuries. Maya's heart raced as she felt the surge of strength course through her body, connecting her to the ancient spirits. The darkness screeched, twisting away, but the shadows within became a slate of memories pouring forth regrets, cries for help, all blending into a cacophony of voices trapped in time. "Help us, remember us, free us," they pleaded desperately. Driving her will deeper, Maya hollered back, "You are known. You are not forgotten." The key glinted in her grasp, glowing brighter by the second. With all her might, she screamed over the clamor, "Come forth. Unleash the truth." Then, a sudden stillness enveloped the space. The figures coiled within shadows emerged, memories made flesh, their expressions turning from anguish to relief. One woman stepped forward, eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "You've come," she whispered, voice laced with gratitude. "You've answered our cries." "No!" screamed a dark silhouette, wrathful and looming, trying to reweave the shadows shattered by the kaleidoscope of light. "You bind yourself to their curse. The truth will suffocate you." Maya focused on the glowing key, unwavering. "We embrace the truth. We choose to honor you." The chamber pulsed alive around them, infusing warmth into the cold voids of despair. The oppressive weight of shadows began to lift, revealing the beauty once hidden within the chaos of forgotten civilization emerging from the depths of history, the anguished energy stilled, flickering back into haunting beauty. "Thank you," the figures breathed, their voices a collective sigh of release as they began to dissolve into the light. "You've set us free." Maya, Brian, and Tyler stumbled back as an explosion of color engulfed them, waves of memories rushing like a furious river, dragging them along. It felt like being born again, soaring above the sorrow, rising into the fresh air of clarity. And then silence fell. As the colors faded, Maya opened her eyes, gasping as she lay on solid ground, warmth flooding her body. They were back outside the Ark, sun filtering through ancient trees, the storm having passed. "What just happened?" Brian panted, looking around with confusion etched on his face. "I think," Maya stuttered, her heart racing. "I think we broke the chain of suffering. We set them free." Tyler's expression shifted from disbelief to awe. "Did we really? Is it over?" Maya looked up at the sky, the bright sun gleaming with promise. "Maybe we finally know the truth. Not just about the Ark but about ourselves." As they stood in the tranquil aftermath, the distant echoes of the past whispered through the winds, now softer, no longer heavy with despair but filled with a lingering reminder. They had been given a chance to embrace their future, empowered by the weight of their shared decisions. This was their farewell to the shadowed past. And in that moment, they knew they had a story to tell, a tale of courage, connection, and hope, woven with every essence of what it meant to be human. So as they turned together, making their way back home, one thought resonated deep within each of them: truth is a burden, yes, but also a beacon guiding the way towards freedom. Don't forget that truth. And this is your chance right now, to take action. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will shake the very foundations of what you think you know. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this jaw-dropping ending. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion, to be part of the journey. Your voice matters. Make it heard.